Someone from Gurgaon Champions Toastmasters Club. Can you rename yourself, please? Uh, the video is coming blank. So, Ashish, did you do YouTube live?
Yeah.
It's Sharath.
Yep, we're live now. Over to you, Nitin.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening and a warm welcome. Welcome to another session of Sparkz Masterclass, where today we have a person, a woman whose presence radiates calm, clarity, and transformation. When stress knocks on your door, Bruno is the expert you want on your side. A globally recognized stress management coach, Bruno is a certified powerhouse with credentials in REBT, that stands for Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy, CBT, that stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, Holistic Health Coaching, Wellness Coaching, and NLP. NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. But beyond the certification lies a deep passion for helping people reclaim control over their minds, emotions, and lives. Bruno has worked with individuals from around the world, professionals, entrepreneurs, caregivers, and change makers, helping them go from chaos to calm, from burnout to balance, from surviving to truly thriving. Her clients walk away not only with reduced stress, but with improved physical health, stronger emotional resilience, and a more empowered mindset, healthier, happier, more productive. That you know what is called as? That's called as Bruno effect. And today she is here to talk about a subject that affects every single of us, stress. But not just a typical take a deep breath kind of advice. No. She is here to dive deep into how we can reframe stress, understand its root cause, and turn it into a tool for growth rather than something to escape from. She'll explore the science, the mindset, and the strategies that can help us shift from reactive to resilient within whether in our careers, our relationship, or our daily lives. So if you ever felt overwhelmed, burned out, or stretched too thin, this is your moment. Get ready to learn how to transform stress into strength and pressure into power. Please join me in welcoming the brilliant and empowering Bruno.
Thank
Over to
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good to be here.
Good to have you
Are you going
here.
to share the slide? Are you going to share the slide, or I should go to my slide?
If you want, I can.
Or are you making me? Okay.
You are the presenter. You have the presenting rights.
Okay.
You have? You can? I think you have.
Okay, so I can share my screen, right?
Yeah, you can share your screen.
Yeah, Bruno, you can.
What can I share?
You're able to? Or shall I do it? There is a share icon at the bottom.
Yeah, I know there's a share. Share at the bottom. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we are able to.
Now we can. Sorry. Slide. Okay. 。 . 。  . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。
Okay.
。 . 。
。
Okay.
。
I opened the wrong. Sorry, I don't think this is the.
It's not loading.
It's not loading. Sorry.
I can see it.
Yeah, we are able to see the screen.
I need to. Sorry, I need to reopen that.
I can share it, not an issue.
Okay, please do.
Yeah, sure.
How do I stop sharing my screen?
That's okay. I'll just share it. You able to
Okay.
see my screen?
Yes.
Yep, visible.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's better. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Good evening or good night, wherever you are, you're watching me from, or good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is you're watching me from. So, my name is Buno, as the host already said, and I'm a certified rational emotive behavioral therapy mindset coach, a cognitive behavioral therapy coach, a wellness coach, life coach, health coach, and an NLP practitioner. So today we are going to be talking about how to transform your stress. On my screen, there's this Bible verse that I love so much. It says, "Come unto me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest." So rest is the opposite of stress, because when we are stressed, we are not relaxed. Please, can you go to the next slide? We are not relaxed when we are stressed. So we're talking about how to transform your stress. Next slide, please. Next one. So we're going to be looking at stress. Please, next one. Yes, we're going to be looking at stress, what it is, so that we can actually understand what stress is about. Because if we know better, then we can make better choices and we can do better. So let's go to the next slide. What is stress? Because stress, research has shown that over the years, 60% of the world illness today is as a result of chronic stress. So chronic stress actually affects our physical and mental health if it's not well managed. So it's imperative that we learn to manage stress. So, but first and foremost, what is stress? Stress is actually how our body reacts, adjusts, or responds to a trigger. So if, for example, you hear a gunshot, what will happen? The way you will react to that gunshot, that is what stress is about. So your body goes into a specific fight, flight, or freeze mode, and then it triggers a chain of reaction on the inside of you. So that response, the way you react or the way you adjust, like in the case of if you're in a very cold room, for example, and then all of a sudden the temperature, like while you are there, the temperature might be too cold, but over time, you just adjust to the temperature. It doesn't feel too cold anymore. You see, so you adjusted to the situation. So it's the same thing, or the way you respond when you hear gunshots, you will fly, and you will not know how you developed wings overnight. So that's what stress is about. So stress is any change in your body that causes you to react, adjust, or respond to a trigger. It's actually a feeling of physical or emotional tension. Please, next slide. And it's also any change or any challenge to the homeostasis or the balance of your body. Anything that causes an imbalance in your body is known as stress. So stress is also a disalignment, between your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. When they are not in alignment, that is also stress. So stress is also the absence of inner peace, that results to that physical and emotional tension. So that is what stress is about. And stress is not often bad, like we always think stress is a bad thing because it has a negative connotation to it. But it is because of stress That's why we are able to eat. That's why we're able to go to work. That's why we're able to do everything that we do. Why? Because when you are hungry, for example, there's a chemical reaction that happens. What happens is that there's a drop in your hormonal level, and then your brain actually tells your body to secrete the hunger hormone, which is the ghrelin. And then what happens? You become uncomfortable and then you move. You see, that stress response is triggered on the inside, and that causes you to go and get the food to eat. You see, so that your body can regain that balance that was challenged earlier. So that's why I said stress is anything that creates an imbalance or anything that challenges the balance of your body. That is what stress is about. Next slide, please. So stress is not necessarily bad. So according to the International Labour Organization, it says that stress results in the death of nearly 2.8 million people, especially workers, every year. And toxic stress is also the #1 silent killer. Why? Because it's also it's stress that actually leads to high blood pressure, high cholesterol, basically cardiovascular issues, and so many other health challenges that we have today. Next slide. So that is why, next slide, please. Like I've said this before, that 60% of our stress, 60% of the world illness today is as a result of chronic stress. So it's imperative that we learn to manage stress, because if it's not well managed, all those chronic sicknesses and diseases that we experience today, be it the cardiovascular issues, the diabetic issues, the digestive issues, the hormonal issues, all of these things are as a result of chronic stress. So it is therefore imperative that we learn to manage stress effectively. So let's look at the different types of stress. So we have the positive stress and the negative stress. Now, the positive stress, when is stress said to be good? Stress is said to be good when it actually leads to constructive behavior, when it keeps us safe, when it helps us to survive, because it is stress that helps to keep us safe. Like I said in the scenario I described earlier about hearing gunshots and running to safety, that it is the stress response. It is the stress that actually helps to keep you safe in that particular situation. If you were not reacting to that, then you probably will be exposed to danger, and that could be fatal. So stress is said to be good when it helps to keep us away from danger, when it helps to keep us safe, when it helps to bring the resilience in us. Sometimes you want to do some things, but maybe you've been putting it off, and then all of a sudden you don't have so much time anymore, and then you have just one day. You'll be surprised that something that you thought would take you like 20 days or 1 month to do, you achieve it in one day. Why? Because you were under pressure, you were under that particular stressful situation or pressure. At that time, you gave it your all and you achieved the great feats. So stress is said to be good when it helps to keep us safe. Then we have the negative stress, which is the distress. And the distress is when stress is said to be bad or negative. Now, when stress is negative, it leads to sicknesses and diseases, like we already said, physical or emotional issues, physical or mental health issues. So, and then we also have what we call the short-term stress and the long-term stress, which is the chronic and the acute stress. So short-term stress is when it's for a short period of time. And that is what stress is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be short-term. But if it continues for a long period of time, then it leads to chronic stress. Next slide, please. So we have other forms or other kinds of stress. We have what we call the physical stress, the stress that actually affects your body when you feel tension, physical tension in your body, when you experience aches and pains, low energy, you are falling sick more often than normal. That is what physical stress is about. And then we have the psychological stress, where you have your emotional and your mental stress. When you are always angry, or you are moody, you snap at the slightest provocation, You have this increase in agitation or aggression. And then mental stress is when you begin to have memory problems, you have inability to concentrate. Why? Because you're having mental disturbance. Something is disturbing your mind. You have unresolved negative thoughts or emotions that is disturbing your mind, that is making you not to concentrate. You might decide that you want to go into the room to pick up something. By the time you get there, you realize that you're like, what did I come to pick? What did I come to pick? You see, you have memory issues. That is mental stress. Then we have the behavioral stress, where that's this kind of stress that actually affects your behavior. An example is when you're always procrastinating, know that you are stressed because you have linked pain to doing that particular thing. That's why you're always putting it off. When you experience sleeplessness, when you experience change in your appetite, either you are overeating or you are not eating at all because you are having mental disturbance, or you are beginning to isolate yourself, or you are beginning to have addiction to drugs and alcohol and all of those things, that is behavioral stress. So when you begin to engage in behaviors like this, know that you are stressed. Then we have the psychosocial stress, which is the stress that affects your behaviors, your relationship. Now, we are talking about your relationship with yourself and your relationship with other people. Now, if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, it will have a ripple effect on the relationship that you have with other people. So this kind of stress that comes from the relationship with yourself and with other people is known as the psychosocial stress. Then we have the psychospiritual stress. This one is the kind of stress that comes from your lack of spirituality or goals or visions or values or purpose. When you don't know what your values are, or you know what your values are, but you're not living your values, or you don't have compelling goals, you don't have a vision for yourself, you don't know what your purpose is, or you lack spirituality. Next slide, please. That is what we call the psychospiritual stress. So how can you identify your stressors? What are your stressors? Your stressors are the things that actually cause you stress. So how can you identify them? How can you know that you are stressed? Because sometimes you can be stressed and you don't even know that you are stressed. Excuse me. You don't even know that you are stressed, right? Because sometimes you can just be angry for no reason. You don't know why you're angry. You see, that's because the stress response has been triggered on the inside. So how can you know that you are stressed? One, when you experience negative thoughts. Like I said earlier, when you have unresolved negative thoughts or emotions, then that is one of the ways for you to know that you are stressed. Then two, when you are easily irritated, and you snap at the slightest provocation. Then the third one is when you have this unsettling feeling in your stomach, that's another way for you to know that you are stressed. Next slide, please. Then also, when you experience increased heart rate, you lack focus and concentration, you experience tiredness and fatigue, and then you have decreased energy level. These are the ways for you to know that you are stressed. Then you can easily find out what is causing these things and identify them to be your stressors. Now, when we say these things are your stressors, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is how to identify your stressors. When we say something, next slide, please. When we say some things are your stressors, because we're going to be looking at the 4 basic stressors. When we say these things are your stressors, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the cause of the stress. Because most times, if, for example, you say it's money because you don't have enough money, and that's why you are stressed. Is it really the absence of the money that is causing you stress? You see, because the truth is, it's not the absence of the money that is causing you stress. It's your thought about it that is causing you stress. So these are the 4 basic stressors that is common to everybody, which is health, money, relationship, and time. Now, for health, when our health is challenged, every other thing becomes meaningless to us. You see, and when you are having health issues, the stress response will be triggered already. So it's important that we learn to take charge of our health. And we're going to be looking at some of the ways to do that maybe much later, by adopting a healthy lifestyle. Now, for relationship, if you have issues with your relationship issues with your family, friends, loved ones, or your colleagues, these things actually lead to relationship stress, or that psychosocial stress that we talked about earlier. But then the two most important relationships you will ever have in your life is one with God, and the second one is with yourself. Those two relationships have a ripple effect on every other relationship that you have. And then money, when we have financial issues, we have overwhelming life responsibilities, the thoughts about these things, our negative thoughts about these things, because we don't see our problem as they are, we see it far worse than they are. So our negative thoughts about these things will create stress for us. Then we have time problem. When we focus our major time on minor things that are not so important to us, and then we focus our major time on, when we focus our major time on minor things and then our minor time on major things, please, next slide, that will lead to stress. So these are other kinds of stress: your environment, physiological condition, lack of sleep, when you're hungry. You've heard that a hungry man is an angry man. Life changes or life challenges, midlife crisis, all of these things. Next slide, please, can actually lead to stress. You have overwhelming life responsibilities. Next slide. Uncertainties about the future, indiscipline, and a whole lot more. So let's look at the stress response. How is stress created in your body? Next slide. What happens when you are stressed? So this is actually what happens when you are stressed. Now we have, stress is actually our nervous system. Our stress is connected to our nervous system. And for the central nervous system, we have the brain and the spinal cord, which is further divided into the peripheral nervous system. Our nervous system, we have the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Now, the central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. Then from the spinal cord, you now have what we call the peripheral nervous system. Now, your peripheral nervous system is now further divided into two: your autonomous nervous system and your somatic nervous system. Now, your autonomous nervous system is responsible for all your involuntary actions, like the beating of your heart, digestion of your foods, twitching or moving of your muscles, and so many other things. So all the involuntary actions that is happening in your system is responsible for it. Then we have the somatic nervous system, which is responsible for your voluntary action. If, for example, you were to hold a hot boiling water or pot, for example, and it's very hot, it's burning, what will happen? Your somatic nervous system will set in and cause you to bear the pain of the hotness until you drop it in a safe place so you don't spill the water on your body. So now your autonomous nervous system is further divided into two, which is the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system. Now, the sympathetic system is where you now have your fight or flight response. Then the parasympathetic system is where you have your rest and relaxation. So right now, your body is in its relaxed state, right? You are resting now, so you're having rest and relaxation. So your parasympathetic system is at work. Next slide, please. So when, for example, you hear gunshots, what usually happens? This is exactly what I was describing earlier about your central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. When you hear gunshots, what usually happens? Your pupils will dilate, your eyes will open wide. You try to take in the whole scenario that is around you. What's going on? What's happening? Right? So your pupils will dilate, and then your blood vessels will constrict in your hands, your feet, and your guts. And then oxygen will be sent to your vital organs, to your muscles, actually, so that you can actually have energy to either run away from the danger or run towards the danger. At that time, your reproductive system shuts down. You see, that is why it could lead to hormonal imbalance. Continuous stress could lead to hormonal imbalance because your reproductive system shuts down that time. Your digestive system also shuts down. Then your muscles become tense. So that's why over time you experience aches and pains in your muscles. And then your heart rate increases faster than normal because it's trying to pump blood, send blood to every part of your body. So the thinking part of your brain also shuts down, and then the primitive part of your brain is activated. So your mood also takes a downturn. So that's what usually happens when when the stress response is triggered. Next slide. So that will happen so that you can run away from the danger or run towards the danger to try to save the situation. So this is everything I've been describing. Next slide, please. So if you have been able to put out the fire, for example, let's say you hear fire, 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 and you run towards it and you put it off, what will happen is that these processes will reverse back to its normal or original position, where your heart rate will slow down to normal, your breathing will also slow down, because initially you were breathing faster than normal because we're trying to take in more oxygen to every part of your body. So this is how stress actually affects your mind, your emotions, your body, and your behavior. You know, you worry excessively, you don't think straight, you make you make decisions that are not beneficial to you, you know, then you're prone to accidents, you experience sleeplessness or nervousness, you know, and then all of these things that you are seeing on the screen. Because of time, I may not be able to go through everything, but this is how stress affects your body, your mind, your behaviors, and your emotions. Next slide, please. Okay, so like this, in a nutshell, this is what I was saying. It will increase your blood pressure. It will lead to high blood sugar, increase your heart rate. It could lead to indigestion and heartburn, you know, because remember, when the stress response is triggered, your digestive system shuts down. So if you were eating before, it shuts down. So that could lead to indigestion, low sex drive or low libido, irregular periods, fertility issues. Your immune system becomes compromised. That's why for some people, they fall sick more often, you know, because your immune system reduces. And then you could gain weight, especially in your visceral region or your belly. And then it could lead to brain fog because obviously you're not thinking straight. You have memory problems. It could lead to insomnia, mood change, headaches, or aches and pains. Next slide. So let's talk about, next slide. Let's talk about how to manage stress. How can we manage our stress? So the first step towards changing anything is awareness. You have to know, because if you don't know, you cannot find what you're not looking for. So that's the first step to changing anything. You have to know that you are stressed and you need to manage your stress. Next slide. So the first thing I want to talk about is mindfulness. Now, we all know what mindfulness is about, you know, and it's important because mindfulness is just being present in this moment, you know, learning to observe your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior without judgment or condemnation. That is what mindfulness is about. Because oftentimes when we are stressed, we are not here in this present moment. We are always in the past or in the future. So we do things mindlessly. That's why they'll tell you, be mindful of what you are doing. Focus. You see, that's because you lose focus in this present moment, and then you are doing things mindlessly. So practicing mindfulness, practicing being present in your daily life, in everything that you do. If you are sitting down here, you are walking, be present here. You know, notice how you are feeling, the thoughts that is going on in your head, how you are feeling, and your behavior. You know, all these things. By the time you begin to practice mindfulness, both in your food, your sleep, in everything you do, basically, you know, if you start to practice that, it will help you to focus more in this present moment and let go of your worries and anxiety that is causing the stress for you. So that is why mindfulness practice is very important. Then we have the mindfulness meditation, and then we have the breathing techniques, you know, where you actually, because research has shown that, you see, when I explained the techniques or the mechanism of the stress response just now, you saw that when the stress response was triggered, there was increased heart rate. So you are breathing faster than normal because you're trying to take in more oxygen. You see, your brain You're trying to take in more oxygen to your cells, right? So what happened? You start to breathe faster than normal. You shallow breathe. You're not breathing well. So, and if you notice, breathing is very essential to life because you are taking oxygen to your vital organs and muscles. You're taking oxygen to your vital organs and muscles. So it's essential that you breathe. And for example, you know, your circulatory system actually powers your heart, right? Your heart powers your circulatory system. Sorry. Your heart actually powers your circulatory system. But what powers your lymphatic system? It is your breathing and your movement that powers your immune system. So that is why when you fall sick, the first thing that is affected is your breathing and your movement. So that is why you need to take breathing techniques seriously. You need to learn to breathe better. You need to, because when you are doing that consciously, breathing from your belly, either you're doing the diaphragmatic breathing technique or you're doing the any other kind of breathing technique that we have, because we have different kinds of breathing techniques. Now, regardless of the one that you're practicing, breathing actually helps to slow down your heart rate. It helps to regulate your nervous system because there's a connection between it. Because as you already see, your respiratory system is working with your circulatory system to take in more oxygenated blood around your entire system. You see, so when you learn to breathe better, you're sending in more oxygen because at that time, oxygen is to your vital organs shuts down and they are all sent to your muscles so that it can prepare you to run away or towards the danger, right? So, but by the time you are not breathing well, what will happen? You begin to have issues with your system. So that's why it's important to learn to breathe better. Every day you want to practice breathing technique. Relaxation technique is not a one-off thing. It's something you should practice every morning and every night. In the night, it will help you to sleep better. Then another thing is exercise. I just explained why movement is very important because movement and breathing, they power your lymphatic system. So it's important that you learn to move because how you do anything is how you do everything. So when you move, when you exercise, when you are depressed, for example, there is a way you use your body. You know, your shoulders are slumped down, your head is down. You see, when you are angry and when you're upset, there's a way you use your body. So that is why exercise is very important, movement, because movement is life. And you notice that children, they are hyperactive. You have to scream, sit down, stop running, you know, for them to sit still. But the older you get, movement reduces with age. A lot of people don't even have exercise as part of their daily routine. And as adults, if we are opportune to sit down, we would rather not stand, right? And if we have opportunity to lie down, we'd rather not stand as well. If we have opportunity to sit and to stand, to sit, we'd rather not stand. And if we have opportunity to lie down, we'd rather not stand or sit down. So, and most times, most people are either sitting down when they're at work or when they're at home and then or lying down. Only very few people that their work involves them moving around. And if you don't have exercise as part of your daily routine, then it becomes problematic. So that is why you want to take your movement seriously. You want to exercise on a daily basis. Now, you don't need to do the 30 minutes, 1 hour, because most of you are corporate people. You may not have that time. But you see, the 5 minutes, 10 minutes exercise on a daily basis, it will send blood flowing in your system, you know, to get you started to wake up your system. And that is very beneficial. Even that small exercise of 5-10 minutes on a daily basis will go a long way in improving your overall health and well-being. Then time out in nature, you know, you want to truly learn to relax. All these things they actually give, because nature gives a calming effect to our mind. It helps to calm our nervous system. Then you want to learn to sleep better, because lack of proper sleep leads to stress, and stress also leads to sleeplessness. So you want to learn to sleep better. Now, for some of us, when you wake up in the morning, you realize that you wake up tired, exhausted, and all of that. Why? It's probably because of, because there are so many factors that can affect your quality of sleep that you get. Your eating time, the food you eat, the quality of the food you eat, and the time you eat it. And even sometimes the things that you're thinking about just before you go to bed, all these things affect the quality of sleep that you get. And it affects how you feel when you wake up. So that's why I was saying, if you practice relaxation techniques before you sleep, it will go a long way to improve your overall health. First thing in the morning and last thing in the night, because you want to relieve all those tension that were built up. Because during the day, as you go into your day, you were exposed to pollutants and stress, stress from the challenges that you faced during the day that left you frustrated, angry, disappointed. All these emotions, these are emotional stress. They created tension inside of you. They created emotional and physical tension. You see, that was building up over time during the day. So later in the day, you're supposed to let go of those things. You're supposed to de-stress. So stretching is another thing that can actually help you to de-stress. You want to learn to relax your muscles, to release those tension from your system. And that is why you should practice relaxation techniques just before you sleep as well, so that you can sleep better. So you also want to sleep according to the natural body cycle to optimize your health. Maybe in another meeting, we'll talk about that, natural body cycle, and how to eat and sleep better to optimize your health. Then you want to connect socially with people, because one of the things that you saw in behavioral stress is isolation. When you are stressed, you feel like nobody cares, nobody understands you. And then the next thing, you shut down. Some people, they avoid people, avoid everything. So you avoid your family and friends. You don't want to connect with them. Why? Because you feel withdrawn. You feel like nobody understands you, nobody cares. So you want to connect socially. If you are experiencing stress, if your stress becomes too overwhelming and you know you cannot talk to people, please seek professional help. Very important to seek professional help if it becomes too overwhelming. But otherwise, you should connect socially with people. That will actually help you, because as humans, we are not created to be an island of ourselves. We need human connection to thrive, to grow, and to thrive. Then eating well is also very important. By that, I mean eating balanced diet, eating more fruits and vegetables, because the problem is many of the foods that we are eating today, because of the way they were grown and processed with fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides, all these chemicals, the nutrients are halfway gone before they get to us. So that is why it's important that you supplement your diet, or you try to eat more unprocessed foods, limit sugar, refined sugars, and then eat more fruits and vegetables, reduce caffeine intake or any other kind of stimulant. So all these things will help you manage stress better. Then make a list. You want to prioritize your time, track your time, so that at the end of the day, you're not wondering where did the time go, because you were busy from morning till night, but at the end of the day, you start to beat yourself in your mind. Your negative chatter box become activated, and you're beating yourself. You're like, you didn't try. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? You didn't spend your time well. Why? Because you probably didn't work from a list. You didn't have a plan for the day, and then other people took your time. Or sometimes you did not create healthy boundaries. So when people say, do this, do that, do this, you said yes without saying no to them. Learning to say no when you are supposed to is very key, because that will help you to manage your time better. Next slide. So the last thing we want to talk about, or second to last thing, is emotional management. Managing your emotion is very key, because many times we are reacting by impulsively, and this is our default automatic response to situations. That's our emotional outbursts, So a lot of times we are just reacting impulsively without considering whether our response is beneficial or destructive to the people that we are interacting with, So don't suppress your emotions. Allow yourself to experience and process your emotion in healthy ways. So, but for that to happen, you need to understand your triggers. What are your emotional triggers? There are things that actually spark up intense and overwhelming feelings on the inside of you. That is what emotional triggers are. Next slide. So, and these are ways, next slide, please. These are ways that you can actually manage your emotion better. First, you need to identify your emotions, because sometimes you are feeling something, you don't know what you're feeling, you're just sad, but you don't know why you're sad. And so you need to identify what you are feeling. You need to acknowledge it. Don't suppress it, because we have 4 ways of dealing with our emotions. We're either suppressing it or avoiding it, or denying it, or we are using it. So you want to use it, because every other way I've described, they are unhealthy ways to deal with our emotion. It's only when we use it and learn from it, that is when it's beneficial. So you want to identify, in order to use it and learn from it, you want to identify your emotions, acknowledge your emotions, get curious about your emotions. What is this? Because your emotions are not bad. It is our judgment that makes it good or bad. They are just action signals on the inside of you. They are just sensations on the inside. So it is our interpretation that gives it meaning. Next slide, please. So you want to identify what it is you're feeling, acknowledge it, and then get confident in your ability to manage it. Because a lot of times, what actually causes us stress is not the problem or the challenge itself, is our lack of faith in our ability to deal with the challenge. That is what is causing us stress. So believe that you can actually manage it and then take action. Find out, what is my emotion? What message is it trying to communicate to me? And then ask yourself empowering questions. How can I use this? Instead of asking, why me? Why me? Because that's our default response when we are faced with challenges. We are always asking, why me? Why? Instead, ask yourself, how can I use this? So that is how you can use your emotion and learn from it. And then the last but not the least is to practice gratitude. Gratitude. Why? Because you see, it takes the contrast for us to truly appreciate anything. When we are well, we are often not thinking of the good things that is going on in our lives. Instead, we're thinking of our problems, we're thinking of our problems, what we don't have, our needs and our wants. That's what usually happens. So, but we don't need to wait for the contrast to truly be grateful for anything, to truly appreciate anything. So every day you want to be grateful, because you can have many things going on well in your life currently, but you can decide to choose on the one small thing that is not going on well. You see, so gratitude will help to shift your focus and improve your concentration. So these are some of the ways that you can manage your emotions. Because of time, we'll not be able to talk about the other techniques to managing your emotion. Next slide. I think at this point, I think we'll just stop here so that I think we'll stop here so that we can take questions, because I think we have used up 30 minutes.
Let's take this one topic. This looks interesting, and then
Okay.
we can proceed.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a big self-critic for my own
Yeah.
critic, so I would like to listen how to silence it.
All right. So, okay.
I think the audience are hooked, so we can, if you have time, we can extend for 10 minutes.
Okay. All right, so the last one, silencing your inner critic. When we are stressed, a lot of times, especially our mental stress, we are always very self-critical. We're always criticizing ourselves. We are always talking ourselves down. A lot of times, we are the weapon that is fashioned against ourselves in the form of negative talk, self-doubt, self-criticism. We are always against ourselves. Sometimes the way we talk to ourselves, there are ways that we will not even allow someone else to talk to us like that. If someone else were to talk to you like that, you will walk away from them, or you will challenge them, or you will beat them, like that. So, but we do that to ourselves. When you do something bad, because what usually happens is when you do something good, you're happy with yourself. And when you do something bad, you're angry with yourself. It's normal. Now, the problem comes when we do something bad. Instead of just beating ourselves up once, it's just like you're in a cinema, excuse me, you're in a cinema and you watched an horror movie. Would you want to, even if you're not in a cinema, you're in your house, would you want to press the rewind button so that it keeps playing the horror movie? You wouldn't want to do that unless it's a beautiful love story. That's when you want to relive the moment, right? But we do that with our negative talk. When we do something bad and beat ourselves up the way we will never allow someone else talk to us, we press the rewind button. We don't let it end there. We press it like during the day, throughout the day. We keep pressing it. And then you remember what you said and did. You hiss and fume and get angry with yourself again and tell yourself, why are you so stupid? It is because you always do stupid things. You see, then you blow things out of proportion. You see, so a lot of times you do that repeatedly.
Yes.
And then what happens? Yes. So that is a big problem for most of us. So next slide. You want to learn to silence your inner critic. This is just, this diagram you are seeing is basically how your mind works. When you get information, from, you either getting information from your negative chatter box, this is your inner critic, or you're getting, you have like two voices in your head, one that's always praising you, your cheerleader, cheering you on, right? And then the second one is your inner critic that's always talking you down. So you're always getting, so it's either, if you are listening to one, whatever you focus on magnifies. So if you're listening to your chatter box, you will create worst case scenario. You will do what we call catastrophizing, create worst case scenario, create doom of many, many bad things that could happen. Or you criticize yourself and dig up past references of times when you did similar things that were bad, to use it as evidence to support your claim that you're a bad person. You even begin to tell yourself that you're a bad person. That's why you did these things. You see, so many times you don't want to do that. You want to be your cheerleader, your best friend. So your mind, your conscious mind, takes information either from that yourself that's always praising you, or from your negative chatter box, and it goes to your conscious mind, right? And then from there, it goes to your subconscious mind. And from there, physically to your body, internally, it will create emotional reaction. Your thought pattern, it will create emotional reaction and your behaviors. Then externally, it will cause you to attract more of that thing that you're focusing on. So that is why, for example, you started, let's say something happened, maybe you had a fight with your spouse before you left the house and you're angry, you carry that aggression and you're just repeating, then you press the rewind button in your head, you start criticizing yourself, you press the rewind button in your head and you're like, why did you do this stupid thing? Because you're always stupid. That's how the other day you did this, you said that, you said this, you said this, you said that. And then while you are going, the next thing, you probably had an accident or something else happened, something bad again happened. Why? Because externally, you were giving off that energy, that negative energy. So you begin to attract more negativity. And then from that one to another and to another. And then the next thing, at the end of the day, you say, well, I had a bad day. You see, but because you were not really conscious, yes, because you were not conscious, you were focused on those negative things. So how do you overcome this? How do you silence your negative chatter box? So you can do that by changing your focus or changing your physiology. Now, changing your focus is practicing gratitude, like I talked about earlier, is to practice self-love. Another way is to practice self-love. So learning to love yourself. When you talk about self-love, you also want to talk about self-acceptance, because self-love are those things that we like about ourselves, and then self-acceptance, they are those things that we don't like about ourselves. So you want to learn to accept those things. So it's learning to love yourself unconditionally, your flaws and all. Not postponing it and saying, when I start to do things right, I will love myself. When I do this, I will love myself. No, it's learning yourself unconditionally. Because think about it. If you're in a relationship with someone, you want the person to love you unconditionally, right? But for yourself, you're not doing the same thing. So you want to practice self-love. You want to be compassionate with yourself. You want to, that is not to say you should let yourself off the hook when you do something bad. No, beat yourself. Make it painful, beat yourself, but do it just once. Don't press the rewind button. Beat yourself, tell yourself, how can I do better next time? How do I prevent myself from repeating this error? You see, then put strategies in place to ensure that you don't do it again. So you want to do that, then you want to practice self-compassion, learning to love yourself unconditionally, learning to be your best friend and your cheerleader. Because if your friend comes to you and your friend did something bad and is remorseful and they say, oh, Nital, I did something very bad. I'm so angry with myself. I feel so stupid. What will be your response to your friend? Will you say it's because you're very stupid and you do stupid things, that's why you always do bad things? No, you wouldn't say that. Because your friend is already remorseful, you'll be like, it's okay, it was just a mistake. Don't worry, you do better next time. You want to cheer your friend up. You want to be their best friend. You want to encourage them. So be your best friend. Be your cheerleader. Encourage yourself. Thank you. I think I'll stop here.
Sure. So, yes, that was one wonderful session. And yes, self-acceptance is the key. Before I talk more, I'll open the platform for questions. Anyone questions can raise your hand. So, anyone want to talk or ping in the chat? Yeah, I can see Vikram raising hand. Vikram, go ahead.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Yes, you're audible.
All right. Such a mind-blowing session, madam. I really enjoyed it.
you.
Each and every slide opened up a big, what I can say is a wisdom, a channel of wisdom, I would say. And it clarified so many doubts. In fact, when you spoke about the different types of stress, I think we all have stress in our life, but this slide that you put together had really made it clear the different types of stress and which we are not even aware until this point. At least I am not aware until this point. There's a lot of different types of stress which, from time to time that I have been facing, and I didn't even know that this is, this is because of this and that, and it's really mind blowing. And my question to you is, you said about the positive and the negative stress. Like, how do we really keep track of these? Because stress is stress, right? So it affects us. So whether it's positive or negative, do you really suggest that we should be knowing to for example, let's say tomorrow I have my area contest, right? I have some butterflies in my stomach already, and I'm preparing and stuff like that. But that is, how do I say that if it's a positive or a negative? Because it's anyway going to help me, I know, right? Any stress for that matter is going to help me, but this time I don't know whether I should feel stressed or how do I manage this. Do you get my question clear?
Yes, I got your question. So regardless of whether it's a positive or negative stress, you will still feel that tension, because stress is the feeling of physical or emotional tension in your body. So you would still feel that tension. And if you are to probably do some presentation, you would still feel that experience heart rate, your heart rate increase. You understand? Like a little bit of anxiety, and you're anxious, you want to do presentation. So that's okay. Why? Because it is short term. So stress is not, yes, when it's short term, it's okay, because after that moment passes, if, for example, let me give you an example. Let's say your boss calls you and he gave you work to do earlier and you've not done it, but then you hear that Vikram, your boss, is calling you. You start to have palpitations. You're like, why is he calling me? Is it because of this thing I've not finished? Is it because, do you understand? So you are anxious, your heart rate starts to increase, and you're wondering, hope it's not because of this, I've not finished. You're anxious. By the time you get there and he tells you, oh, I just wanted to give you these gifts, you'll be like, you will heave a sigh of relief. That's because you've been holding your breath, but you didn't know. But then you see that was short term. As that moment passes, your system will go back to normal. Your heart rate will slow back to normal, right? And then your breathing will also go back to normal, because initially you were shallow breathing. You were not breathing well. You were holding your breath and you didn't know. That's why you heave a sigh of relief. So it will go back to normal. The problem happens, the problem is when these processes does not reverse back to normal, or you're having what we call the episodic stress, short-term stress continuously. Because the problem again is our brain cannot tell the difference between real threats, imagined threats, big challenges, and small challenges. It interprets all challenges as threats. Yes, so that's where we have a problem. But as long as it's short term and it's not reoccurring frequently, then it's okay.
Okay.
Then it's okay, because that is what will help you to build. You see, when something happens, for example, and you're able to scale a fence that ordinarily you would not be able to scale, what will happen? It will help to build your self-confidence. You'll be very excited. After that incident, you feel excited. You will be very happy with yourself. That will boost your self-confidence. It will help to build your resilience. It will also help you to survive better. You see, it's bringing out the good things in you. That's when we say it is a good stress. That's how you use your stress. But when you make it long-term, that's where you have a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. I really appreciate your time, and
You're welcome.
it's a nice session. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vikram, for asking that question. Many of us are from Toastmasters, and they do get that feeling when they have to go on stage and give their speech. So it will help us, all of us, with
Yeah,
your
this is the
question.
first time I'm going to appear in person. So otherwise,
Oh, wow.
online is different, but in person is always different, right? So
Yeah, I agree. So all the best for your speech tomorrow, and do share us the feedback in the group. How did
thank
it
you.
go?
Sure. Thank you.
Ashish, I see you're raising hand, so over to you.
Yeah, congratulations, Vikram, for going on to the area level, and wish you all the very
Thank you.
best. I have been through that very recently, and I can completely feel the kind of feelings you are having. Wish you all the very best. So my
Yes,
question
thank
is to be, so firstly, thanks. Like I think Vikram mentioned, this is a topic which is so deep, and I mean, I I just wonder, we have education, and all of us have qualified and educated for more than 15-20 years, and still these kind of topics are never taught. And nowadays I'm only kind of happy that youngsters are, at least my son is having life skill as one of the subject, and hopefully these topics, the awareness around them goes up. And my compliments to you first for covering, sharing this very relevant and important topic with all of us. And my question is, like you very rightly said, that a lot of stress come from relationship. First, our relationship with ourselves, and our relationships with other. Whether we like or not, we end up receiving a lot of stress and perhaps giving a lot of stress also in relationships, right? Whether sometime consciously, sometime unconsciously. And not all that is good, because, like you said, short term is okay, but if it persists, it can really, really have problems. So my
Yeah.
question is a tricky one. Any one tip which you like to give us to kind of relieve this relationship stress? Like somebody said something to you, or you, and in a rage of it, say something to someone. Is there any tip which you'd like to share with us that can help us address this and manage this stress?
Yeah, so for relationship stress, although we'll not be able to cover everything today, maybe another time somewhere, but for now, just it's important that we learn to communicate assertively. Assertive communication is standing up for your rights without infringing on the rights of others, learning to communicate clearly. Effective communication is very key. Because the meaning of a communication is the response you get. So you need to adopt this belief that the meaning of a communication is the response you get. So if you are not getting your desired response, then you want to change your mode of communication. Maybe you want to change your voice tonality, your gestures, your language, your words, all these things. You want to change them until you get your desired response. Now, I talked about how your relationship with yourself has a ripple effect on others. So if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, it will have a ripple effect on others. If you're always self-critical, like we talked about silencing your inner critic, if you're always criticizing yourself more than normal, and then you always talk yourself down, you're always negative, it will also affect other people, because your perception of yourself, how you see yourself, determine how you're going to be relating with other people in the world. So if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you're not going to have good relationship with other people. So every day you want to check in with yourself. You want to build your relationship with yourself. Same way you build your relationship with your spouse or whoever it is that you're in a love relationship with. You always want to talk to them. You want to spend time with them. You want to also spend time to build your relationship with yourself. You want to check in with yourself. You want to know how you're feeling. You want to manage your emotions. You want to understand your triggers. Because when you are able to understand your triggers, then you'll be able to better manage them, because emotional intelligence is key when you are communicating with other people, understanding your emotions, understanding other people's emotions, and then practicing emotional regulation. So all these things, they matter a lot. These are the things that will help you. So maybe in another meeting, we'll talk about the words that you use maybe to de-escalate conflicts, because you're always going to be having conflicts with other people. These are the things that will lead to stress. How you can de-escalate conflicts. We'll talk about transformational vocabularies, the words that you use to intensify or reduce, to increase or reduce the intensity of your emotions, like that. So in another class, we'll talk about it, because really the time is short for us to cover. We did not go in depth to the different kinds of stress that we have.
Absolutely. So on a time check, do you want to take a couple of more questions? I see Dikshita and Puneet raising hand.
Dixter has a question.
So do you want to take it up? Like it all on you. We are okay for any amount of time. So
No, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in another time.
no, you want to
We'll
take a
have
question
another
from
meeting.
Dikshita?
Yes,
Dikshita and
yes.
Puneet.
Question.
Yeah.
Yes, Dixter. Yes, please.
Yeah, Dikshita, go ahead. Please ask your question.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
So basically, right now I'm at a phase of my life where I'm quite unsure about a lot of things. So in the morning, whenever I get up, I wake up with a lot of anxiety actually. So basically, after that, once I start working, then I'm fine. But it takes like almost 2 hours, like a lot of anxiety going on in my mind. But once I start working, then I'm fine. Again, when I'm done with my work, then I'm very clueless. Again, that anxiety is back. So I don't know how to cope up with that.
Okay, so first you want to check your daily routine. What do you do in the morning when you wake up? When you wake up, what do you do precisely? Do you just go check your phone, read your messages, or what's your morning routine like?
I basically have a glass of water after I wake up, then I get ready for my work.
Okay, you don't exercise?
No, not right now because there's some health issues going on, so I need to rest for a while.
Okay.
But evenings I go for a walk, then I'm fine. But once again, look, so basically whenever my mind is free, then it's crazy.
Okay.
That is the thing.
So yeah, you need to exercise still. You can stretch, even if even if you have health challenge, you can practice breathing technique, you can do stretching, simple things that will not put a strain on your health, or that will not
Okay.
yes. And then also you want to check what you are thinking about, because our thoughts determine how we feel at every given point in time, and that affects our decision, and that determines our behavior. So you want to check your thoughts. If you have unresolved negative thoughts or emotions, they could also contribute. And you talked about health issues. You're probably worried about the health issues. So these are some of the things that you need to look at first. And then after that, you can now create a healthy morning routine of practicing relaxation techniques when you wake up after drinking. It's very good that you're already drinking water when you wake up in the morning. Then so You should also try to incorporate exercise, basically taking charge of your four worlds, your physical world, spiritual world, mental world, and emotional world. When you take charge of these four worlds on a daily basis, it will help to reduce your stress greatly. Physically, you take charge of your physical world by exercising, right? And then your spiritual world, you communicate with God. Then your emotional world, you practice relaxation techniques. And then for your mental world, you read something edifying, something that will build your mindset or your personality, personal development material or any of that kind of stuff. So that will actually help you. So if you do that, and I think Ashish can tell you more about it because you practice it in the 5 a.m. club, taking charge of your forwards in the morning. Yeah, that will help greatly. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Dikshita, for asking that question. Even I have that issue. I end up wasting 1 hour or so when I wake up, and I'll definitely try the suggestions shared by Bruno. So, Puneet, please share your question.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I'll second what Vikram said and what Ashish said, that this was definitely an insightful session and a very helpful session. So I'm glad I joined this session. So the question from my side is that although you covered it briefly, that most of times we spend a lot of time on things which are not important, and uh, less time on things which are actually important. So that also creates a lot of stress. So most of the times, the to-do list which we have is kind of overwhelming, which we are not able to like check off completely. So is there a way that we can better manage our to-do list with so that it doesn't create a lot of stress?
Yeah, is basically time management techniques, managing our time well. Like I said, setting healthy boundaries, learn to say no when you're supposed to say no. Don't say yes when you're supposed to say no, and then you now become overladen with work or responsibilities. Yes, that's one. Because if you keep saying yes, yes, yes to everybody, it means you are saying no to yourself, right? In some ways, you're saying no to yourself. And then at the end of the day, you realize that, oh, where did the time go? Because you spent time doing things for every other person but yourself. But these things are important to you. But the problem is you did not you didn't give it the time that it needs, right? So that's where the challenge is. Then another thing, you want to link pleasure to the things you do, especially those things that make you procrastinate. A lot of times we procrastinate, keep putting it off until we don't have enough time to do it again. And then we start to think, we start to panic. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. Right. So, and then, yeah. So these are things that will lead to our mental stress again. So you want to learn to work from a list, prioritize your time, work from a list, write down the things that you need to do. Like for tomorrow, write the things down this night before you sleep. Write down the things that you need to do for tomorrow, and then go ahead and do them. Then you can track your time. In the Sparkz Grow with Sparkz group, I see that some people are already doing the Pomodoro techniques. These are time management tools that will help you to manage your time better. So you want to track your time. From this to this, when you wake up, what are you doing at that particular time? From this time to this time, you should know what you are doing, especially if you are very laid back or too relaxed with your time. Because if you don't do that, if you don't assign any task to your time, other people's task will come and take it away. And then at the end of the day, you will not do those things that are important to you. Then you activate your negative chatterbox and you start to beat yourself up. You see, and if you repeat it tomorrow and the next, it will lead to you disappointing yourself a lot of times. And you see, that will intensify your negative chatterbox. That will lead to more self-doubt, feeling of inadequacy, name it, and feeling of unimportance. Yeah.
That is absolutely right. We do, if we are not planning for ourselves, someone else will plan it out.
Right.
Right.
No, this
That
was
is,
super helpful. I completely agree.
yes, absolutely. So let's utilize. So Bruno is in our Sparks group. So anyone want to take her inputs on any other topic, please reach out to her. And everyone here are part of Sparkz group, I believe. If you're not, please text us and we will add you in the group. So with the closing remarks, I would say it was a wonderful session, and I believe everyone here who had joined
Yeah.
will be immensely grateful for you. We have already completed 4 months of this year, so let's make the next 8 months to be productive and stress free. And Stress Guru is with us. So post her a question and she will definitely reply. And Ashish, over to you if you want to close it.
Yeah, I'm just may I request all to turn on their camera, and Nital, you could take a beautiful selfie.
Yeah, sure.
Of the it. Reaction button has this heart which brings all the hearts around our images. So you can choose the emoji you want. That's your choice, of course. And click a few of the amazing pictures as memories of this session, which goes on social media, and remind us that we have attended this amazing session with Bruno. Many thanks, Bruno, for taking out time and sharing these lovely insights with us. I think not only we'll be thanking you, but also many of our relatives and many of our near ones will be thanking that, oh, what has
Definitely.
happened with this guy? By the way, one of the person, without naming, took a took a took a 21-day challenge in Sparks not to blame her husband. So I wish my wife also takes that soon. So yeah, but that's a personal wish. I don't know when it will come true, but just to share, these are simple ways by which we can avoid spreading stress around. And Bruno has shared those amazing tips with us today.
Yeah,
She is
definitely.
available, mentioned as a coach to all of us. Anybody willing, please text us. My number is there in the chat box, and we'll be happy to add you in our group or give the number of Bruno who can give you one-to-one coaching. Thanks so much, Bruno. Truly grateful for you sharing all these insights with all of us.
Thanks for
Nikhil,
having me.
Ma'am, you have a really shining skin.
yes.
So that's a compliment from Kushbu. She's saying you have a shining skin and a bright smile.
Thank you.
So,
It's
last question,
it,
any book suggestion you want to give us so that we can get started on this journey?
Um, no, I just first of all, increasing our awareness is very key. Awareness of our thoughts, basically just practicing mindfulness, being present. Because when
Okay.
we are not present, we tend to become worried about things in the past, either with regrets of things we failed to do or we did, or we're anxious about the future when we are not present in this present moment. We're thinking of worst case scenarios, or we're thinking of many what if things that may or may not happen. So being practicing mindfulness is very important because that will help us to stay in this present moment. And it's like a muscle. The more you practice, the better you become at it. So when you are stressed, you can easily identify your stressors. You can easily tell that, oh, this is what something that is stressing me out. So becoming more aware. It's like going on a self-rediscovery mission. Yeah.
Yeah, true. With this, we'll end today's session. And thanks everyone for joining. And thank you, Bruno, again for the
All
wonderful
right.
session. Bye. Have a nice
Thanks for having me. All
weekend.
right. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.